steps up with that data finesse. Selling it right, no room for a guess. The mics are hot, the beats hit hard. Fans throw their hands high in the yard. Deals and impressions like a verbal sprint. Breaking it down with an ad tech tint. Ad tech, ad talk, it's a live Q&A. Buy side, sell side, clearing the way. CEO spitting truth, no delay. Chalice and Gemera owning the day. Programmatic flows in the scene real tight. RTB dreams lighten up the night. Adam says pivot, Gareth says scale. Together they weave one flawless tale. Ad tech, ad talk, it's a live Q&A. Buy side, sell side, clearing the way. CEO spitting truth, no delay. Chalice and Gemera owning the day.
Two ad tech CEOs go round the outside, round the buy side, round the sell side. Yes, they're back.
All right. Thank you, David Maldo. Welcome to AdTech Ad Talk. Hello, AdTech World, Planet AdTech. We're happy to have you here for another week. We've now done 10 of these shows. I think this is the 11th.
Wow.
So, we've got our pace now. Our fame is increasing. Gareth had a viral tweet about ad tech this week. I'm going to start us off reading it, Gareth, so we can continue the discussion from Twitter, where I have a lot of prominent ad tech voices blocked to hear, where everyone is free to join and speak. And what Gareth wrote was, if you were to rebuild all of the ad tech, parentheses, the old pipes, exchanges, DSPs, etc., end parentheses, in 2025, it would be standardized, faster, and cheaper. We basically have the tech version of a gerontocracy built on top of a graveyard of jeans parties. Jeans parties were, of course, the agency bribery tradition of the early part of the current millennium. For me, it was more the sneakers party. I had custom Nikes, Converse, and Adidas in my agency days. But that's the idea, is that was the tech that was being promoted then, and that's still the pipes that all new technology is supposed to be squeezed through today. So, Gareth, what did you think of the responses you got to that?
Yeah, I mean, I always love when Judd chimes in and says anything, and Judd was just like, "Yeah, why don't you just build it?" And I was like, "Well, that's the point of my tweet, Judd, is I am building it, and it's a huge pain in the ass to like do anything." And I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that these companies were built on network effects. Part of what makes ad tech companies, especially ad tech middlemen, so effective is a network effect where the more buyers you have, the more appealing you are to sellers. The more sellers you have, the more appealing you are to buyers. So new entrants basically have a chicken and the egg problem to like insert themselves into the transactions that are occurring. And those companies built these huge things out, right? I worked in one. I was the head of header bidding of products at one of the oldest exchanges. We were all acutely aware of how old that piece of technology was. That was that at Rubicon. Like we lamented it. But the notion of moving off of it when it's pushing through trillions of transactions and handling hundreds of millions of dollars of net revenue, right? So billions of dollars of spend. It's terrifying. That's a terrifying prospect. Like, oh my God, we're gonna make a sweeping change to this thing that's working. Like, no, we're not. So that just means that for startups, and I mean, Chalice ran into this too, right? There are just limitations in the integrations that these companies can do and what they can support. And Adam, even in the thread, you got into it with someone, or maybe this was a separate thread. It was a big Twitter week, guys. A separate thread about, not everything is in trade desk logs. It's not all in there. And it's like, why? Why is it not all in there? And we talked about this last week too, but it's the same issue that just keeps popping up over and over again, where we would have more features. They would roll out in a more standardized way faster. if you were to build these companies right now with where technology is, because
My
technology is
hypothesis is cloud and containerization really changed this, right? That this is it was a hub and spoke model that was necessary, and if you were a hub, you enjoyed network effects, and everybody else was a spoke. But the cloud platforms bring this opportunity to be like meta hubs, right? Hubs of hubs, and the cloud platforms don't have to buy media, right? They could just be uh, environments where functionality is containerized and a lot happens in the 100 seconds of a transaction. That's kind of the point of the buzzword I'm trying to start, fragmentation, right? That you don't have to have a hub. A hub doesn't have to be this huge center of gravity, and that things that today are considered weak because they're point solutions and don't have a gravitational pull will be able to enjoy as much market success as they can earn, right? Because they will be housed in some sort of cloud platform or containerized in some other environment that more or less democratizes access to transactions, right? The ability to add value to transactions through AI or something else.
yeah. I I'm always reminded when we were architecting a bunch of stuff in Prebid server. So one of the things that I worked on when I was at Prebid was, and well, at Magnite slash Prebid, and it's been, a few years now, so I can probably talk about this, was how do we turn Prebid server into an ad exchange? Like what's the feature set that it needs to have? And the governing thesis was modularity. That was the governing thesis. And in its simplest form, as things move through any of these processing units, you expose the entirety of the bid request, right? So the entirety of the JSON describing the ad opportunity to intermediate solutions, where it's like, hey, here's the thing that came in, analyze it, add to it, do whatever you want to it, and then we're going to pass it along to the next person in the chain.
Yeah.
And you build basically little silos for each type of solution. You build a silo for someone who's going to do an analysis of the content. You're going to do a silo for someone who's going to enrich it with segments, like whatever it is. You just have this really democratized, pure access to the bid requests themselves, and then you have a bunch of enrichment services. And that's the way to do ad tech, because that's all that ad tech really is. It's just a bunch of
Yeah.
enrichment services that then get passed to a decision engine. And we should.
There's a really good primer on the change to come on it's Erin Foxworthy from Snowflake was on the Marketecture podcast. A
Oh,
great
I need to listen to that. That looked good.
episode. Yeah. She uses a great phrase that that their Snowflake is telling advertisers the SaaS will come to you. Right? She's telling advertisers who have their data stored in Snowflake, it's not about sending your stored data out of Snowflake and into some SaaS platform, right? As a hub and spoke model would demand, the SaaS will come to you, meaning that most things that are now performed externally in a SaaS platform using customer data will be performed natively in places like Snowflake with a Snowflake application, right? That's Snowflake's big play is they have AI tech, called Cortex. It runs on NVIDIA chips and has access to, right, great modeling capabilities, LLMs, and lots of fun stuff that Chalice and others use. And Snowflake is inviting us to build our capabilities as apps natively there so that we could tell an advertiser or an agency, like, oh, you have 8 different partners. You should make one audience and split them up into 8 different segments for the 8 partners, right? Like it's a lot of things that can be done right there in the cloud and right that SaaS functionality moving upstream closer to the client. It's a really good story Snowflake's telling, and I think we're going to hear similar things from AWS, Azure, and maybe even Google.
I mean, the data lake stories really make sense. Like
Yeah,
I think they're powerful ones
yeah,
because the notion that you have custom log schemas from each of your partners that you then need to transform and synchronize, that is such a pain and such a
yeah.
horrible thing to do, and that's why
We've
people
done it.
don't do it. Like
Got it.
it's miserable. So if Snowflake can insert themselves and solve that problem, and then simultaneously make it available for
Yeah.
applications who then plug into the other systems, it's
Data
It solves it.
gravity.
It is. It's
You know
great.
what we use to orchestrate the transformation of all the logs into a unified schema?
What?
Guess what company we use? I'll give you a clue. They became very famous in the last couple weeks.
Last couple of weeks?
Hmm. Because of something that happened in Boston with their CEO.
No.
That's right, astronomers
Astronomer?
for orchestrations, great company.
I didn't know that's what they did.
They do, yeah, the custom airflow automation. It's perfect for this big job of bringing together various schema into one. So, despite the behavior of that CEO and yeah, I don't know. Someone said they read the story and they were like, "Oh, a married CEO and head of HR," and they thought it was like me and Ali that married to each other, and then had to like look closer at the story to be, "Oh, they're married to other people." Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean,
Biggest
it's
But listen to Aaron Foxworthy on the Marketecture podcast. That's my podcast plug of the week. Have you heard any good podcasts lately?
um truthfully, I'm listening to fundraising podcasts. That's like
Hmm.
where my head is at right now
How's it
because
going?
I'm doing that. Um I mean, I'm taking friends and family calls like at the moment. So, I think we're gonna get most of the money from friends and family, honestly, but I'll speak to one or two ad tech firms just because I have to. Like the right thing to do.
It's
Like
great. Imperium. It's great. Yeah.
I've got to talk to Joe and Eric. I also I so RTK used to share a company with share an office with a company called Powerlinks. And Powerlinks was run by Kevin Flood. And so Kevin Flood runs First Party Capital with Kieran and um
Oh yeah.
Rich
Now a
from
bunch of
across the
inputs
pond.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've raised a bunch of money. I'm so happy for them. I'm like so proud of them. It's such a cool
Yeah.
idea. Also a really amazing play to start a venture capital fund when you own the largest industry publication on a continent.
Yeah.
So like
Goes
you
together.
can you can just juice all your companies. It's brilliant. I don't quite understand why major networks don't have huge VC arms to like sell D2C. Like where's the News Corp VC arm that's pushing their own D2C like ads into linear at radically reduced rates? It's
Yeah, those guys don't think advertising works. They don't even sell programmatic ads on their sites. Maybe ExchangeWire does. But the
Yeah, exchange rate. Well, but they write articles, right? They talk about companies. They say this company is doing this cool thing. Let's do a segment.
how are
And
you
they do have a
feeling
media
about your
kit.
pitch deck? How many times have you done it?
I'm on iteration like 10. Um,
How many
but I
times have
try.
you presented it, I meant.
Oh, I don't speak to the deck. I send it as a follow-up. Like I'll pull it up like
Hmm.
momentarily, but
Hmm.
the people I'm having conversations with, I really try and stick it like just the story. Like I'm not raising from strangers. I'm raising from people who know me, and I can have a conversation as opposed to like structure it with a deck. And then I always have to send the deck. I have to follow up with it.
Did you
But
use
yeah,
Sequoia? Did you use Sequoia template? We've had
no,
people,
I didn't.
we had some investors insist on the Sequoia template. We had to like put our deck in the 10 slide Sequoia template for some.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
stuck to 10 slides, but it's I if I were guessing, I haven't looked at the Sequoia template, but if I'm guessing it's gonna be close. There's only so many ways to do these things.
yeah, it's a change is coming. You have to start with a change. So ours is AI.
Ah,
Then you say
I,
there'll be winners and losers.
yeah, I think that one of my core spiels is open programmatic has so little market share compared to wall gardens. And why? Like it still bugs me. It doesn't make sense because you look at all like the consumption statistics. People spend a lot of time on websites still. They spend a lot of time on streaming TV and they spend a lot of time on websites. And all of the advertising dollars go to Facebook and Google. Like astronomical amounts. The and this is like comically hard data to find, which also drives me totally crazy. And I use LLMs to do it. But it's amazing how it's holding pretty steady. Like even in the e-marketer things I'm seeing, like they've got this locked up. 70% of programmatic display ads are going to Google and Facebook, and it's holding we're not winning against them. So
Well, we did win a big trial, just that the effect, the remedies.
this is true. Um, I can't put that as my change, but I would.
Yeah,
Because part of what we do, and I think my thesis is that the inventory model is part of what holds the open internet back. And the inventory model has a single entity responsible for it, and that entity is GAM, Google Ad Manager. Google Ad
yep,
Manager has become through force, through
yeah.
assertion,
It's a
the
criminal
way that
activity.
yeah, well, this is how we define every advertising opportunity on the open web. It's through a GAM ad unit path. GPIDs are GAM ad unit paths. Like what? That's crazy. That's it. And then we get mad when it doesn't work because it's a crummy way to label things, and it's manual, and it's like old school, and it's like, oh, it's go figure. These ads don't work as well as Facebook's ads do. We all act very surprised, and it's it's built the same way that it was in 2002 with Dart. It's nuts.
So do you categorize yourself as pub tech in your pitch?
Um, I lean actually, this is a first party capital thing. I lean on Signal. I think we're
Yeah,
just a signal provider, man.
yeah.
And I'm not a super signal aggregator. That's not my thing. I make a proprietary signal that makes campaigns perform better. It's that simple. And every signal should tell publishers how they're being perceived by the buy side. So this is a big thing that we're doing is
Yeah.
we're communicating with publishers, hey, here's how your site looks to buyers. Here are the ad units on your site, and here are the pages and devices and specific experiences where things are getting weird, like viewability is terrible on this specific experience. CTR is terrible on this specific experience. Let's make that actionable for you, publisher, because we are telling advertisers viewability on this specific experience is really bad. Don't buy it. like,
Yeah.
but there should be information symmetry there, right? That shouldn't be an asymmetrical conversation. And right now, it's kind of an asymmetrical conversation, where publishers, the reporting that publishers have on how things look to advertisers is Google Ad Manager viewability, which is like okay, and that's like it. Open Sincera, which drives publishers crazy because it's a crawler, and publishers are like, I don't feel like I was a party in the creation of this data. I didn't share this with you. You took this.
But
And
it's
it's true of all
accurate.
crawlers.
It is accurate data. Like we used
Oh
Sincera
yeah.
for months. Good
Oh,
signal.
oh my gosh, it's so much better than not having it. Like it
Yeah.
un incomprehensibly better than not having it. Because page level, the fact that we don't
For
do things
buyers. Why, is that true
level,
of
yeah.
publishers too? It's like just so they know. Because I mean, it's not like even Trade Desk is using it much on for buy side decisioning, I don't think. So what's the
Yeah.
value to publishers to know how they score for ads to content ratio?
That's important for them because they care about Jounce.
Mm,
And the
mm,
Jounce lists still
yeah.
have some weight. And there's some
A good
evolution there.
housekeeping
Yeah.
seal of approval. Yeah.
It is. You need it. And there's evolution happening there. So I think that Jounce is. I mean, I love Chris Kane. I'll just, you know,
I like them a lot too.
I'll pump up Chris Kane on this podcast anytime. I think he's great.
Yeah.
Um,
You should sponsor us.
he should sponsor us. But I think that there's a lot of data that's going to start flowing into those kinds of functions, and there's a new breed of wow. Jounce is a super signal aggregator.
Mm.
Jounce is a company that looks at a bunch of different things and becomes a one-stop shop for SPO and inventory quality and all that stuff. Interesting. SSA. Um,
That's the
but
first
yeah,
part of the capital thesis.
it
Um,
is. It is. It's not a bad one.
Good about crawling, because and we could get to that question. This will tie right into that question. Uh, what do like? It's just a fact that all the text on the web has predictive power that is being harvested, will be harvested. It's Mobian and Scope 3 have a lively competition we've talked about before, the two giants of ad tech competing around or
It's
similar
amazing.
messages around
It's amazing.
using all the content on the web for better brand suitability, right? And that's right. It's because all this content is can be crunched through LLMs, and you could do jobs like the job that Double Verify and IAS promised to do can be done better and more cheaply today. It's actually an example of what you were talking about. Just because they're newer and built it more recently, it's better technology for determining brand suitability or understanding the context of a web page or a TV show. And I've been pitching publishers for about a year now and talking about this, and they're pretty tight-lipped about how they think about it or what they want to do themselves, if anything, around, using, having their content available to these LLMs or having LLM-based offerings.
Mm. So I have two thoughts about this, and I want to try and answer the question too, because the question's a really good one. It's why doesn't this data live inside of SSPs? Um, so on the first part, the reason publishers are tight-lipped is because they don't know where this is going to go. They know that there is value in their data.
Yep.
They also know that their data is a drop in the bucket, right? The ocean is big. And so the problem is like they're not saying no to people yet because they don't know what they're going to be able to actually ask for when they put up a wall. Because they will eventually put up a wall. Every publisher will need to be opt out by default, right? You cannot crawl me. You do not get access to my content by default. And you will have to come to me and do some sort of thing to
Yeah,
gain access
licensing
to it.
deal. Yeah. We were talking last week about potential rev share.
Yeah. And I like that. I think it's a thing. I think it's just there's hopefully Cloudflare builds their infrastructure to be a part of that. Um, but I think the reason that publishers, so I get asked this all the time. I just got asked this literally the past 2 days. I've been having a conversation with a really large publisher, and they're like, "So can you tell me like what my data strategy should be? Like, do I need a data strategy? Is that a thing?"
Yeah.
And I tend to be like pretty explicit with publishers, like, no, it you don't really need one. And the reason you don't need one is twofold. One is if you build something yourself, right, in your own taxonomy, your own thing, there is only one way a buyer will use that, and that's if you pick up a phone and you call them and you convince them to use it. And that is a direct sales function, and most publishers simply don't have the scale, the time, or the resources to do that. So building it yourself in your own taxonomy is a crazy idea. The alternative is you build something to a standardized taxonomy, and this is SDA, right? Seller defined audiences. Google has some other stupid name for it. I forget what it is. Publisher provided signals or something.
Yeah.
And they're like IB categories of like
Yeah.
first party data.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to get that much adoption. And the reason that I don't is because there's no way to police consistency in methodology in these things,
Yeah.
which means the quality of the signal is going to vary wildly. It's just going to be all over the place. Some publishers might be amazing at it, some might be terrible, and you're going to have to like the cardinality of relying on the signal at the page level is going to be crazy. Um, so my instinct for this is when I'm talking to publishers, it actually ties back to what you just said, which is okay, publisher, the way that you make this work is you work with companies who are building generalized taxonomies that apply across all websites.
Yeah.
And by participating with one of these companies, you will be part of a pool. You will be included. You will be in the in group for publishers that are targeted when people use the data created by this data company. And you just don't want to be on the out group. That's the. I mean, I'm playing on fear selling with Gamera all the time. It's like, okay, I'm not going to tell you what you get with Gamera. I'm going to tell you who's not going to buy from your website if you don't work with me. That's that's like the spiel because there's going to be a list of people who just don't buy from your website, and the pitch is going to be very similar, I think, for Chalice. If you guys are doing and Mobian in Scope 3, if they're doing this contextual analysis, the conversation for a publisher is like, it's not why what do you get when I crawl you? It's what don't you get if you don't let me crawl you? And here's a list of the brands that we work with, and we're just not going to buy from your site because we don't work.
I mean, that's another network effects data gravity push. I hope it's better than that. That's not a question of market power over who gets to scrape. I would hope it be who can deliver the most value in terms of, bids, higher CPMs.
Those two things are pretty tightly connected.
But you could be small, you should be able to be small and deliver higher bids. Like that's
True.
there should be room for small players, right? I'm not driving a ton of demand, but the bids are good.
Some demand, incremental demand. Um, but now we get into this world of, and this is a huge problem for publishers. And this is a revealing one. How do publishers measure incrementality of partners? It's really difficult. It's a really hard thing to do.
I mean, they have to
Um,
forecast in the first place, I think, right? Like they don't even forecast. Like Google probably can forecast for any word in any language how much money they make from queries including that word, right?
yeah.
I think publishers should move in that direction. Like if they have all their text data in Snowflake and they have partners who are helping them do LLM analysis, match that back up to bids and have an understanding of when we write about topics, right? You could take it page by page, right? This page has these topics and it got these bids, and you should be able to predict every time you assign a story or put a story up what it should drive.
This is literally the first product I built. God, I'm just talking about me so much today. Um, it's
Did it
a
work?
well, publishers don't understand why they need to spend money on it.
Yeah,
That's the problem. I'm like I can measure
yeah.
the LTV of users by content type, by contextual category generated by an LLM, by X, Y, or Z, and you should know where you're making an investment and why and how much money you should make when you make that investment. And they're like, yeah, but this costs money. And and right now when we write articles that we don't have to pay any money.
Well, it's a lot
Um,
cheaper. It's a lot cheaper.
I mean, my product is very cheap, Adam, and this is because this is the analysis tool. This is the incrementality tool. But I think that the other thought is right. When I work with this new LLM partner, how do I measure that they're actually adding value in the form of high bids? Because I want to see that in the bid stream. I want to see that straight up when I'm monetizing my website. I want to see those higher bids coming in, and I want to know it's because I turned this LLM on.
Yeah,
And that's tricky.
yeah.
And the only way to do it, I mean, there are probably other ways, but the way that I always come back to that we bump our head up against, that's miserable, that's awful.
It's PMPs, right?
Oh yeah, oh, we use PMPs, but the way to test the value of is your PMP, is your data making me more money is a holdout. So what you do is you pass a key value pair into GAM that says data present, and then you pass
Yeah.
another key value pair that says data not present. And 3% of the time, you withhold data and you say, we're not going to pass it
And
in the
if the
bid
page
stream.
is scraped, yeah, that's not going to help. I
I,
guess you could withhold the URL. You could withhold the full URL sometimes.
that's why I'm saying this incrementality for this is hard. Like this is a tricky one. Um, Yeah, because if the lookup is happening outside of the publisher's hands, which it is, right? Once the data's gone, it's gone. It's like it's now out in the ether. It belongs to this partner. All the lookups are happening server side. They have their own index of what they
Yeah.
think of this page URL. It's tricky.
Well, let me
Um,
that I think is super interesting about our friends at Scope 3 and Mobian, what they've done. So Scope 3, like I think the language around teaching people this is post-taxonomy, right? That it's prompt generated and topical and very nuanced and not based on a taxonomy is really important for understanding how LLMs change our world, right? Like something we've really found in Chalice and audience targeting and device targeting, like the categories just don't matter. Like everything has like that. There's so much variance of value that you don't have to aggregate it up into some taxonomy and say this family of stuff is worth this. Like every single word has different values, and every combination of words will have its unique value, and that could all be calculated. So I love that Box talking about that, helping people understand the post-taxonomy world, and hopefully putting some pressure on Double Verify and everyone else who's selling on contextual category or doing suitability by category, that's antiquated now. Uh, and Mobian, Mobian, I think I've said before that if you're a buyer and have a chance to see the Mobian demo, you should. Just the contextual work they're doing on YouTube is totally groundbreaking. It's full level ahead of what the partners in YouTube Partner Measurement Program, which is sort of a cartel arrangement where Google approves people to have YouTube channel access, but it's still aggregated by channel. Um, yeah, Jonah and Mobian are processing an enormous amount of YouTube content and channel data and helping tag it with sentiment views and stuff. And Chelsea's really excited to get to the predictability of these things and start to understand, yeah, the values because YouTube is hugely mysterious around value, right? There's a lot of $4 YouTube video. There's a lot of premium that goes for more. There's like 9 different ways to buy the same thing, and it's very hard for advertisers to understand the value because there's been so little content data. So Jonah is solving a huge problem on YouTube alone with Mobian.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, I worked closely with a company that did a lot of YouTube contextual analysis, and they hated it. It was miserable for them because
Yeah,
YouTube also doesn't make that data like easily available.
yeah,
You have to like claw for it, and they're
yeah.
constantly changing the rules and doing all these things. Yeah, what a cartel YouTube is. That's a crazy one. But I love post taxonomy. So let's get back to the question. Why don't SSPs do this? And I think it's a really fascinating question because I think it's a choice that's been made by SSPs. I think SSPs have really made a specific decision that, well, allow me to not paint with too wide a brush. The big SSPs, right? So Magnite, Index, these guys, OpenX, have made a decision that they are in the hub and spoke model a hub.
Yeah,
And they were going to be data agnostic. They're not going to build their own data sets that would bias them in some way, supposedly. They are generally going to stay out of this game. And the value that they provide is going to be managing the integrations with the publishers and then providing a layer where this data can be integrated for buys, but they're not going to build it themselves, at least in my experience.
but
Now, there is
Gareth,
a whole category of
but
SSP that does
Gareth,
that.
doesn't
Yeah,
Magnite have a huge PMP business in the
they do.
US?
But it's not
Uh,
built on so they bought one data company called Carbon.
yeah.
And Carbon was a user-based one that like generalized a bunch of things out of it. I don't know if they actually use Carbon.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not sure that that's actually a thing. It
Oh,
might
so you're
be.
saying they have to position as content agnostic. They can't be seen demand to any one of their publisher partners based on the
Well,
quality and the content of their
and they
publisher.
have huge PMP businesses, but those PMP businesses are typically built on data from other people. So they will go get data that says this is X, Y, or Z from Peer 39 or from another,
Yeah.
hell, I
Still a
mean,
little
Scope 3.
conflicted though, right? It's still, yeah, index in at least in the US index doesn't do this at all. So they're the ones who are most have a claim to being fully agnostic to their publisher set and not bringing a media product to the buy side.
Yeah, but I mean, OpenX, PubMatic, and Magnite certainly bring media products to the buy side.
Yeah.
They just don't tend to be in the data game. I think that their media products are their packagers, their curators. So I think that they have these curation businesses, but they also themselves have their own curation business with their own sellers where they're trying to build things for DSPs. Um,
Yeah.
because you have to, right? If you're an SSP, you can't build it and they will come with DSPs. You got to talk to them. As strange as that sounds, the trade desk doesn't are not particularly chatty, but the other DSPs tend to be chattier, and you'll have a conversation and somehow you'll get more budget.
Yeah. So I think the short answer to why the SSPs don't do this is they're not sure there's money in it for them. And and I think even Mobian and Scope 3 aren't sure how much money there is for them and having an upcharge on, content analysis and suitability. Like IS and DV have that market pretty locked up and it's they have there's a very high profile challenges from very well-known CEOs and they're certainly not a sure thing, even though they have a loud voice and better tech. Like, a lot of money has to move. And as you said, people are reluctant to move large quantities of money from one hub to another. So I think the SSPs look at this as a risky gambit. But if things change and the market does become more competitive, I think it does become uh, like an important thing for an SSP to have is tools for curators to select by suitability and content. Like the cost of it is going down a lot.
Yeah, and I've seen native Scope 3 integrations inside of SSPs. Like there are a couple in there where you can go in and you can select. Unfortunately, the taxonomies, but it is what it is. But I do love the post taxonomy pitch for an advertiser. That makes so much sense to me. Like, my gosh, If you're an advertiser who's spending a real amount of money, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be crazy, but like Bach did the math at the Scope 3 event on like how much it costs to build a model. And if you're spending, millions of dollars on advertising per year, like you can probably afford to build a custom model for yourself. Um,
Yeah. I'll invite advertisers to contact me if you want to be in a beta where, as long as you buy on Index, Index gives logs with full URLs. We have contextual data on all those URLs, and we built a Snowflake app to query those. Just like as Bach demoed, you could just ask it how many of these pages are about fitness or yoga, or how many of these pages mention something in a certain context, or this
yeah.
word without this context, and it'll just spit out the URLs. You can go check them out, or you could load them up into a PMP. And we're thinking that the cost of this should be low to nothing because it's your data and it's a pretty simple query tool native in Snowflake. So if you want to check that out early, send me a message.
Yeah, it's super cool. Plus, you already have the crawled data, so like you already have your like understanding. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's an awesome product.
yeah.
Every advertiser should do this.
Yeah, it's like to us, the value is in getting predictive power out of it, and we'll charge for that. I think we already have some preliminary proof that you could predict in-market auto just on this data. It's pretty cool. In-market auto costs 30% of media, and it's these
That's
enormous ID
crazy.
sets. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's fascinating. It makes sense. Like this is so going back, oh my gosh, full circle. Back to why does open web programmatic not work as well as like Facebook and Google? These are things that are like super possible to do now. And I want to be frank, they've been somewhat possible to do for a long time. Like you've been able to pull a list of all the URLs, you've been able to crawl the URLs, and you've been able to run NLP across them. LLMs make it easier, but Peer 39, Proximic, these companies had the technology to like do these sorts of analyses for performance, and we just didn't because the integrations weren't there. It was hard, it was messy. Like it, we just didn't do it. And it's a huge unlock. It
yeah.
turns out that you can build these amazing things that make campaigns work so much better. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, open web has a real disadvantage. I always like to talk first about the criminal activity that causes open web to lose in what should have been competition. But there's a real disadvantage in having tons of competing publishers versus a network where, the LLM, whatever, the machine learning entity could have access to all the IDs and all the pages all the time without any integrations, negotiations, payments. They could add pages and change the number of ads on pages as they need, and they could make it really cheap, right, and charge somewhere else. Whereas a publisher needs to make money, they need to understand what's happening on this site. And when there's thousands and thousands of them, engineers will say all the time very quickly that the open web is not as good. To an engineer, it's just not as good because it can't have this technical efficiency. I always push back on that, saying, that's an engineer's way to look at it, but you have to consider market factors. Like if I'm looking from the point of view of an advertiser, like, where's the user that I care about? Who is incentivized to provide a quality ad experience? And right,
Ugh.
and what's the value?
And I've got, oh man, we're going today. So this, I think actually to your point, to expand on that, the open web is a marketplace of value. And what I mean by that is it will optimize to the thing that the buyers are bidding more for. We saw this in
Yeah, it's called
MFA.
price discovery or value discovery. Is the idea is you buy a lot of places, you get a lot of feedback, you learn.
Exactly. And you spend more where you're getting the thing that you want. And basically, the reason that the open web hasn't worked is not because of the publisher side, even though there's huge data asymmetry there. We're fixing that. I spend my life fixing this data asymmetry. However, the problem has been in the incentives on the buy side. The open web discovered MFA. It figured out MFA because buyers basically said they wanted MFA. That's why it came into being, is
Yeah.
buyers wanted it. And that's tremendous. That's the exact vehicle that you were just discussing inside of a walled garden, where a walled garden goes, oh, I need to have more ad units here or less ad units here. I have this feedback loop internally where I can make these changes. The open web makes those changes When buyers tell the open web what they want, the open web is rebuilt in the image of what the buyers are asking for with their bids.
Yep.
And we just got to fix that. But it's actually amazing. I think
Yeah.
this is a weird perspective. MFA is amazing in that the open web discovered how to give buyers more of what they wanted. That's amazing.
True.
That's actually fascinating.
It's market dysfunction, but the scale of it is incredible. It just shows the responsiveness.
Yeah, it does. So
Yeah.
let's just figure out how we make sure that buyers ask for something they actually want instead of just as many viewable ads on a page as possible. And we should get more of what buyers actually want. Like the feedback loop is there.
Ryan, when I talked about how we're looking at, now we look at pages by ad to content ratio, refresh rate, number of network calls, infinite scroll, ads loading out a page. So we value on all these signals, and you said publishers are going to beat those too, just like they beat viewability. So tell me a little bit about that. How are publishers going to beat all those signals I just named? Trick me.
Yeah. Um, so I think it's very easy to vary experiences for crawlers. That is the thing. And that will
Trick the
become
crawler.
dangerous. Yeah, you can trick a crawler. Because if they can detect and block a crawler, right, they can give a different experience to a crawler. So there's a whole concept of this, and this is a concept that was invented on the buy side. I mean, there's some real ad tech shit here. It's called cloaking. So the concept of cloaking is that you do a bunch of detection to see what the attributes of the device connecting to download your page is.
Right.
And if it doesn't meet certain qualifications, it gets one experience. And if it does meet certain qualifications, it gets another.
Yeah.
Um, and historically, people did this on websites with URL parameters, but they could get really smart. It gets really tricky. Um, so don't get me wrong. I don't think most people will do this, but I definitely think that there is something to understanding what users are actually doing on pages and what performance looks like in addition to those signals that you just described. Because I do think that like a priori ad to content ratio is probably the single most important signal that someone could have. Like that's an amazing one. And I do think it is a hard one to trick. However, there are certain pages where ads will be bunched in certain viewports where ad to content ratio actually will vary within the page. And this is just a matter of degree where you could end up
Yeah.
excluding some things you want and
No, we had
including
to
some
make
things you
rules
don't
for when
want.
it's one. There's actually a whole bunch of scenarios where the ad to content ratio is 1 to 1. Some are good, like a homepage takeover, and some are bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's and don't get me wrong, I think that the gaming happened because of viewability and viewability became the outcome that people were looking for. And that's your issue.
Do we have
Um,
were people saying, hey, they're just gonna load up ads, load up pages with tons of small ads that reload every 2 seconds? Was it anticipated back then on the pub side? Like, oh, this is easy to beat. You just need 2 seconds in the viewport.
in
How
terms of
fast?
setting your refreshes, yeah.
Yeah.
The only person who ever caught you and ever clawed back on refreshes was Google. And Google, even the risk wasn't they are going to claw back. The risk was they're going to shut off their performance demand because they know that performance campaigns, post-click performance campaigns, don't work on rapidly refreshed ad units. So AdX and
Okay.
AdSense actually had different refresh policies.
Oh yeah.
The AdSense refresh policy was more restrictive than the AdX one because they knew these programmatic goofballs are willing to buy these refreshed ads out the wazoo, but we're not going to give those to our mom and pops who are buying on post-click CPA
Search,
because we
right?
know they're
Because
not going to work.
censors the search customers. They buy clicks.
You got it.
Stick on the page if you're going to get a click on it. So they crack down on refreshes. But why was viewability so screwed up then? Like why it's just like that's the only thing people could agree on, this 2 second standard. It's so weak.
Well, I really think it's much better than the alternative. I still
Oh,
see people
nothing.
buying ads that are not viewable at all. Like I make PMPs for people where I'm like, "Hey, I'm just going to not send you things that are never seen." And they're like, "Wow, the performance is great." I'm like, "Yeah." Like I know.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than when I'm not doing what I'm doing. Um like I know like, there's no question of that. I think it's just a matter of what were the advertisers actually optimizing to? And it really did become this strange post-view ID bridged world where they're like, well, as long as I got a viewable ad in front of this ID, it's flowing into some flawed attribution mechanism, hopefully, or maybe not. And
The
that,
problem they were trying to solve was ads in a one by one. Like actually, the entire ad was loading in a single pixel. Like that was really
oh,
egregious.
well, that's just real,
That's,
that's just fraud.
yeah, but there it was rampant, right? Until viewability, that was rampant. So viewability at least stopped that problem. But I just wonder
Really?
how much cynicism there
Oh
was at the
God.
time over.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen all kinds of ad stuffing. Like it's a
Yeah,
thing. God, rampant in one by ones. It's terrible. Um,
yeah. I shouldn't have said it solved that problem, but viewability addresses it. Like if you buy, right, it
I mean,
reduces.
viewability in the abstract should work. And attention is like the raw attention is a cousin of viewability. It's like, well, how viewable was it? How long was it in view? And they do other things too, but like the raw thesis, the original one was just how long is it in view? Um, I definitely think that there is some value to it because I I'm a big click guy. I sell clicks. That's my world now. As I tell people, I'm going to make their CTR better. But I do think that there is value in this ad was seen, and if you have a proper incremental attribution funnel stood up, it's a good signal. Like I can't imagine it being a totally worthless signal. There's no way. You just have
It's
to
not,
actually be
no,
doing
it's
the
just
data
like it
science.
cuts out the lowest decile of quality. And
Yeah.
what about the other nine?
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Like with any other signal, with any other attribute that comes in, it's like how strongly does it correlate to the outcomes you're looking for? And
Yeah.
it's there's a gradation, right? It's like a
Yeah, you
funnel
get what I'm
of the
saying. Yeah.
signals. Yeah. And viewability is just like a lower level one, but it's an easier one to achieve, so you get more scale from it. Um,
I think keeping on theme today, it is the most egregious example of being dominated by old tech. Well, besides GAM measurement and GAM deciding the publisher fields. The next one is that the quality monitoring tech is expensive and antiquated and gives very weak signal.
that whole industry blows my mind. Um, One
Yeah.
thing that we're going into the verification space because I'm just gonna throw this thought out there. How do all of our quality companies not work with every publisher? There aren't that many. Like there aren't that many. We have a few multi-billion dollar companies that supposedly do nothing but assess the quality of impression opportunities that come from publishers, and they don't work with publishers. Like, what? Why?
That means they don't have
Like,
access to the user agent. It
yeah.
means they
Why
really don't
not do it at the source? Why
bottom.
why why listen to bid streams? Bid streams are garbage. We know that bid streams are garbage. There's all sorts of duplication and fake shit in bid streams. You know, there's not fake shit on the publisher's website. That's not fake. That's real. Like there's it doesn't get any
Yeah.
realer. Like where are the pre-bid modules? Where's the IAS pre-bid module? I don't understand. It confuses me to this day. And it's I'm sure I'm gonna get like Alexi from from Human being like Gareth, shut up. Here's why.
And
But
Shalandar maybe he was going to also tell you to shut up, and here's why.
no, Shailen will agree with me. Shailen will be like, this is the best. Like, this whole thing is crazy. Um, but it just this is why I'm going that direction is because like why would we not do this? There is a single truth set for all impression opportunities. It's the publisher's data set,
Yeah,
and
in the DV complaint against Analytics, I noticed one thing they don't say is we look at the user agent of every impression to see if it's a bot or not. It really sticks out that they do not say that, which I think can only mean they don't know.
yeah, it's in so many scenarios. The pre-bid tech is just built on this faulty foundation of we're going to listen to this horrible polluted bid stream and
Yeah.
somehow create value for our advertisers from it when it's got to be more noise than signal in there. I can't imagine what like the bid stream actually looks like for the trade desk. Like the garbage that flows to them must be so astounding. Um, it's just
Let's
crazy.
talk about resellers. Yeah, someone asked over the
Oh,
week
that's right.
more info on resellers, and I know you're not going to name names about resellers, but let's talk about the sorts of things resellers are doing and what people might, so people can understand the spectrum of good and bad. I'll share my experience that you helped me find was that a reseller was selling a unique GPID, which means that somehow they were inserting an ad on the page that was only there for them, and they were the only ones selling it, and it was shady. Like it was not a good ad experience. It was showing up, not one of the publishers' squares or rectangles, but something just this reseller had managed to inject.
Hmm. So there, well, and resellers are available from two perspectives. So I want to cover it this way. And I don't necessarily want to say good or bad, but just what to look out for. Because publishers do ask me all the time, should I be working with all of these resellers? There are so many categories of resellers, but I think the easiest way to think about it is one category is it's a white label of an SSP or like just zero proprietary tech, but it participates in your main pre-bid auction. The value of these resellers, and there are a few of them, is typically ID bridging, where they are just out there appending their IDs, somehow passing different buyer IDs, buyer UIDs into exchanges, which I still don't think is a thing, but it must be a thing because people keep telling me it is, that I can tell index what the buyer UID should be. Well, not index specifically, but I can tell an exchange what the buyer UID should be, which I just find to be such a repugnant thought, but like supposedly is a thing. ID bridging resellers, working with them, I think in the grand scheme of things, is not that risky. Like I don't think it's the biggest deal because they are participating in your main auction, and if they go out and they get some high bids, like it should be okay. Um, as long as their fees aren't insane. And there's a whole separate topic to discuss there. The
Mhm.
resellers that I think that you should look out for, right, are the ones that are outside of your core pre-bid auction or that do naughty things, which you have to monitor them for. You have to use something on the page that's monitoring like refreshes and monitoring things like that. And naughty things are inserting ads that are outside of your normal pre-bid auction. The reason that's bad is because they're selling them at prices that are probably lower than your main pre-bid auction. And that's not good. You don't want that. Like
It's
that's
worse too. It's lower price and lower quality.
lower price and lower quality, so it looks like it performs worse and it's cheap. It moves money away from your core pre-bid auction and makes advertisers think that your site is lower quality. Simultaneously, another reseller trick, and there are ones who do this, is fast refreshes, right? You were talking earlier about people not detecting refreshes. There are resellers out there who will insert themselves into your ad stack. They'll buy one impression, they'll turn it into three or four.
Oh yeah.
And that's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because once again, it's happening outside of your core pre-bid auction. And the reason that happening outside the core pre-bid auction is such a problem is because advertisers are going to optimize to that supply path because it's cheaper. And buyers find cheap supply paths. They do that. And I mean, I'm always reminded of my conversation when I talk to buyers about OpenPath. They're like, OpenPath is expensive. I'm like, yeah, if OpenPath looks expensive, it's probably because you're buying some resold garbage elsewhere. Like that's probably the case. Because OpenPath should be pretty cheap. Like for the actual impressions, it should be pretty. You should know exactly what the fees are, which you can't really know anywhere else. Because OpenPath, I think, is pretty transparent about their like 10% fee or whatever it is. Um,
Can't find
so
out yet. I'll let you know if I ever get the data.
yeah, one day they'll put on the logs and they'll tell us. But like I hear this a lot though that OpenPath is an expensive like supply path, and I'm like, how? How could it be an expensive supply path? And the only explanation I can come up with is they're buying through resellers, and resellers look cheaper because OpenPath is by definition in the main pre-bid auction. Um, so this is a long way of saying good resellers to work with. RD bridging ones, I mean, they're not good, but they're fine. They're going to add bid density to your auctions. That's okay. Your
Yeah, I
prices
have
will
to
go
speak
up.
up for the buy side. Like if these IDs are fake, they should get optimized away if there is some supply optimization, right? If they because they I was gonna say because they won't convert, but if they have the right, if they show the right fake ID, they might get conversion credit and not be optimized away.
It's the thing,
Weird,
Adam. Isn't that weird? This is the
weird.
thing. There are companies that exist where all they do is they model conversions and inject fake IDs. That's all that they do.
Yeah.
Um, because it's just garbage in, garbage out. But they're like, hey, if we can guess the IDs that are going to convert and append them, then we can make the data look more
What's to stop
valuable.
Google and
It's
Facebook from doing?
terrible.
how does the buyer know that the user who converted actually ever loaded a YouTube or a Meta page?
Well, this is one of my old conspiracy theories, which is what's
Yeah.
to keep Google and Facebook, since they own the measurement across the board, from just goosing the numbers sometimes. Like, as long as you're not tracking to sales. If you're tracking to sales, it's hard to fake
But I'm
it.
saying if they even if
But
they are tracking the sales, they could predict a bunch of IDs that will later sell and just fake that they show them a
showed ads to those people. Yeah.
yeah.
Don't
That's I
have to
mean
actually do it.
that's what ID
No, that's the thing.
yeah, because you
It,
don't have logs anyway.
that's true. Yeah, I can't prove it. Like, this whole
Weird.
thing is just numbers on a screen. Um,
I had a comment to someone yesterday, like no one confuses predicting rain with causing rain. But in ad tech, people do confuse predicting which IDs will convert with causing those IDs to convert. They do it all the time.
yeah. Um,
Got a question?
yeah, no, I'm
Your
I'm
kids?
I'm looking on there. Yeah, just kid stuff. Um, but yeah, man, it's a weird space, the reseller space. I think that we are entering like a phase of the internet where they're gonna start to decline, like they have to. Um, like these things have to get consolidated. They have to
Yeah.
like close up at some point.
I'm
Um,
watching closely. The first round of SPO, which our friend Chris Kane at Jounce definitely set off by talking about SPO, like was not very good decisions. Like a lot of agency made deals, like these are our suppliers, and it didn't change anything positively. Like, they bought the same pages as before. The other suppliers just started selling into the suppliers who they chose, right? So it didn't matter. And there was the opportunity for kickbacks in those deals. So I think SPO 1.0 was a fail, and I'm looking to see what happens from the next round of supplier decisioning. Hopefully, a few people watching ad tech, ad talk, and learning from Gareth what's really going on in the world of bid requests.
I really just want there to be a nice, clean supply path. Is it so much to ask? It seems so easy. Like
Yeah,
it really doesn't seem hard to me.
there's
It
just not a
seems
lot of
pretty
money in it.
straightforward.
There's not much money in it, so you need a white knight,
I I
so to speak.
I know,
A
but
silver.
like Silver Knight. Um, I just feel like nobody actually wants it, and that's why programmatic doesn't perform. Like we're gonna have the only people who really want this are performance advertisers, because everyone else, your SPO 1.0 point that like it just created more grift basically, where agencies were like, oh hey, we could make more money here. Um, like it's not hope inspiring. Um,
No. Well,
they
education. All we could do is try to teach people.
and
That's
brands. I think brands are. I have a lot of hope in brands.
you do.
As long as some of them actually. Don't shake your head.
Oh,
That's
Gareth.
not good. That's not good. We need someone to care.
Yeah. Brands care about, are we spending as much as our competitors? Not
Well,
are we
that's the
spending
good news.
well?
We can educate them. They can do it the right way. And gosh darn it, I can help them spend the money. I really can.
All right. Round of applause. Gareth. Thank you, David Maldo. Thank you,
Thank you
guests.
guys. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you guys all next week. Thank you for coming.
Take us out.
Yo, the crowd is back, the lights are dim. Front row's buzzing, it's about to begin.